Well, this is Gene Joyner's Unbelievable Gardens. I've never been here before, but we got a special trip with Mr. Gene Joyner letting us into. So I'm going to see what happens and see how it goes.
Welcome to Unbelievable Acres Botanic Garden, one of Florida's most unusual rainforest tropical gardens. And the reason it's very unusual is that it was created from an empty field in 1970, and yet today there are trees over 100 feet tall in the garden and some with trunks over 7 feet in diameter. And people think they've been here for 100 years. Walking trail, 1,200 varieties of plants, literally collected from all over the world, and features about 150 types of unusual tropical fruits. In the southwest corner of the garden is a hibiscus tree, but it's different from most hibiscus trees you see in landscapes. This one grows a foot a month, and it's got 14 individual trunks. It went sideways, see, and then it turned around. It's made a full 360. It's actually a path that goes through the middle of it. And a lot of photographers like to go in there and get pictures of all those twisting trunks. And I got a couple of squirrels that use that for an expressway. State champion trees. This shingle tree from India is one of them.
How do you get to be a state, I'm recording, how do you become a state champion?
Anytime you have a large tree in your landscape or your neighborhood landscape, you can call the State Forestry Service, and they have a list of champion trees, and if your tree is not on the list, you can obtain a form from them and submit it for consideration, and you have to have the height and the width and a little bit of history of the tree if you know that. And then they check the record book, and if yours is bigger than the champion that's already in the book, then by default you're the new champion. But they do send a team, and I had a team come down here. They spent a whole day looking at my champion trees and measuring them, photographing them, and they also GPSed them so they can find them again if they ever needed to. And then they sent us a nice certificate suitable for framing, certifying it as the biggest of that particular type of tree. And we had at one time 9 champion trees. We lost 6 in the hurricanes, so we're down to 3.
How did this guy survive the hurricane?
It just is a good hardy tree, and it was 6 feet tall when it was planted. It wasn't any taller than this sprinkler when it went in the ground. I had a picture of it, and so I got proof it was a little baby when it got started.
Is that well water?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have city water out here or septic tanks. Sewers. We're all on our own wells.
Okay.
So we're real country. The trail in the garden is a very serpentine winding trail, but it's over almost a mile in length. And along the way there's all kind of neat plants. This Sanchizia is a beautiful ornamental with red flowers and these bright yellow veins in the leaf. Just a real handsome plant, always catches your attention. The giant timber bamboo here, this gets 85 feet. And bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants there is. It can grow to its full height in less than a year, 85 feet.
I heard they grow 2 feet a day.
Some varieties, yes. And we have a number of different types of bamboo in the garden. This Cecropia tree from Central America is another tree. It's not connected with the ground. It's out of the ground on its roots like a tripod. And you'd think it'd be very unstable in the wind, but it's not. And this is a seed that came up in '05 after Wilma. And so the hurricane blew it in from one of our other trees. And you see how tall it is in that length of time since '05. And we've got vanilla orchid on it, we've got bromeliads, and we're putting more and more things on it. Now here's a bird's nest anthurium, and that's a real pretty plant you see often in Central America and South America, up in the trees like the orchids and bromeliads, but they will grow in the ground if you have good drainage, because they will rot very quickly if they're too wet. Some of them can get leaves 14 feet long and 4 feet wide, one single leaf. So they make very massive big plants. Some of the foliage plants in the garden are very, very attractive. This one has white veins and white stems. And this is another one that has pretty white stripes on it. Looks almost like a zebra.
Oh yeah, variegated.
And so this is the way you see things in the rainforest, just a variety of different foliage shapes, sizes, colors, and makes you want one of everything. Bromeliads are very attractive too. This one's just beginning to come into bloom, but it has beautiful green and blue flowers. And it's just now started to, about the last week, to put out its flowers. And they will hang down about 24 inches. And the orchids on the trees too, they're very happy and healthy. This one is a June bloomer, so it's not in bloom here in February, but you notice that the foliage is just blemish free, and yet it's never been taken care of. Been on there, just Mother Nature taking care of it. Now here's the state champion Jaboticaba. And this one is almost 80 years old. And it's about 45 feet tall.
These produce fruit every.
Yeah, and I've got one with lots of fruit that's getting ripe and back to the citrus. So we'll get some ripe fruit over there.
You had to hold this guy up with the.
Well, Francis knocked it down, and then that's as high as we could get it because we couldn't get any heavy equipment in here.
Ah.
So so we got it that high, and I roped it off to the monkey puzzle. And when Wilma came the next year, Wilma didn't knock it down again. It stayed up. But I got it propped up with big posts there, so it's not going to ever fall any further. And when I pick them, actually it's easier this way because instead of being vertical, I can just walk out along those limbs and I can get the fruit a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a good aspect.
And really, I can almost, now I'm to the point I can probably take these ropes off because it's rerouted fairly well.
If I was a squirrel, I would definitely import and live here. Right?
Now this is one of the few gardens you walk underneath the begonias. You don't look down at your feet.
You got the trumpet plants.
Yeah, this is called angel wing begonia. Pale pink. I've got one also in white, but they can get 16 feet tall. And they look like a stand of bamboo. And they have flowers 12 months of the year. No one ever comes here without seeing flowers. And begonias also have edible flowers. So we do some tours that are edible tours, and we feed people begonia blossoms and little other stuff that we have in here. That flower there, that's called Brazilian cloak. Great butterfly and hummingbird plant, and they bloom about 8 months of the year. And we've got a lot of them in the garden.
You have a lot of hummingbirds here?
Yeah, they come in October and they go home in April. Now if you look up here, you see we got tons of zebra butterflies in here. They're laying eggs on that bat-winged passion vine. That's one of their favorite plants to make babies on. So they're all day laying eggs up there on that vine.
That looks like plastic.
Yeah, any day of the year you come, it looks exactly the same. It's been here 3 years. And that'll grow as a house plant or porch plant too, very, very easily.